Ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to have a Q&A in a minute. Lisa Chatfield from the New Zealand Film Commission will run a Q&A. We'd like to invite the filmmakers to please come up to the front.
For your films. I know you were all feeling deeply unwell this afternoon. Possibly not you. You're probably just feeling relieved to get here on the airplane. But you know, to screen your film for the first time in front of an audience is always both exciting and nausea-inducing. So congratulations to all of you for surviving it, and thanks to the audience for being here tonight and for staying. We've got some time to have a Q&A to talk a bit about the films, which, as you can see, have all come from really different parts of the world and have been made under really different circumstances. And it would be great. I've got some questions and some things I would like to ask you guys. But obviously, if you've got any questions at any point, please put your hand up. And if you don't have questions at the end, but you'd like us to say how it felt to watch any of the films, it would be really great to share that with the filmmakers. Because, you know, every film is a long journey, even when they're short films, they're a long journey. And it's a great thing to actually know how an audience has felt experiencing your film. And after we've had the Q&A, there'll be some drinking out the back. So, you know, they'll be drinking, so I can't guarantee they'll answer you. Yeah, I think, so just so everybody knows who everybody is and which films everyone's associated with. This is Lisa from Barbados, and her film was Auntie, the film about the barrel child, which was great to see. I'd never heard of a barrel child, and when Lucy was emailing me about it, she was like, blah, 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 barrel child. And I'm on the side going, Google, what's a barrel child? And I couldn't get anything to come up, so it was great to have the chance to see your film. And Wajira, I haven't met you yet because you've been trapped on an airplane, a terrible sounding word. But obviously not quite as challenging as the situation for your film, which I'm looking forward to hearing about. So Wanjira's film was New Year's Eve, which was the second film in the program. And then Jules from Canada, her film was the fourth film in the program, Placenta, which was also fabulous to watch. I collected placentas for a while, and then we moved from Auckland to Dunedin, and in a mild panic, I just buried them in my mother's veggie garden, which, you know, grows great veggies. So I feel that that's played off correctly. And Korean, your film was Passage, which was the first film that we watched tonight about the sister and brother and the mother in the boat. And last but hardly least is Oscar with his film Tom's Dairy. So thank you to all the cast and crew. Are there many Tom's Dairy people here? Yes, I should hope the name is, oh yeah. Is Elizabeth here? Great, so Elizabeth, who produced the film, is here. And it's a great privilege to have this Commonwealth gathering in New Zealand and to have the screening in Oscar's place, but to be able to share all the films. It's really cool. So,
I wouldn't have minded going to Barbados though.
Yeah. I was thinking, yeah, the Bahamas look pretty awesome. Yeah. Do you think we were cheap? Or, you know? No, just really, really far. Yeah, we didn't want to meet in the middle, although I love that Kareem was saying today how disappointed he's been in his shorts. And Lisa was like, did you think to check where New Zealand was?
They call it black shorts.
I know. Well, this is our idea of summer. It's not flash for other people, but it's our idea of summer. So starting at the top, for the audience, we'll move through the films as we watch them, if that's all right, because I know that when you watch a short film program, it's hard to kind of keep up with all the things that you've seen, especially when you've travelled the world really quickly. But Kareem, could you talk to us a bit about what was most challenging to make about Passage? I don't think a lot of people here will know what it's like to make a film in the Bahamas.
You mean logistically?
Well, no, just like what was the hardest thing for you in terms of delivering the film, I guess, as creatively as much as logistically, telling that story?
Well, the Bahamas is a country of only 300,000 people, so you can imagine there's not a lot of production sort of culture there, and so, you know, things cost as much, and you have to bring people in to help you. But we had a very tiny crew, just essential living. You know, it was just a couple of us. We shot in a boat, but the hardest thing creatively is for me with finding being at peace with telling the story. I'm not Haitian, and I'm Bahamian, and I've been deeply affected by both people moving in and out of the country, and I don't speak the language, and I think, you know, reaching out to that community and getting them to help me be truthful as much as I could be with the story, I thought that was a challenging. It wasn't challenging to do it, but it's challenging to have the courage to go and do it. I thought that was challenging, if that answers the question.
Yeah, and have you screened it for that? You haven't screened it for that community yet?
No, I have not.
And how are you planning on doing that?
Well, I was planning on taking it into the community and doing it, like maybe having a night at the National Gallery in the Bahamas and inviting this you know, we have a large Haitian community in the Bahamas. Like, so Nassau is about 250,000 people, and the Haitian community is about 50,000 of that. And so, you know, but we exist in two different sort of worlds, because there's a language barrier, and then there's also things like classism and, you know, things like that.
Thank you. Wajiro, for you in Kenya, making that story, Lucy was saying at the beginning before you got here how homosexuality is illegal in Kenya, and so for you to tell that story and for the people to come and be part of your experience, how was that?
Well, the actors, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right up there.
Sorry. The actors are pretty much welcome with the idea, although there was meant to be a kiss in a film. Obviously, that wasn't going to fly with them. Homosexuality is illegal in Kenya and most parts of Africa, and I guess when I was in post-production, I was actually being asked by my sound editor, are you prepared for the backlash that you're going to get from making this film? And quite frankly, I was just focused on making a picture that I haven't even begun to think about what will fall after that. Yeah, but I do think that we should be having conversations about, you know, gay rights. 2 weeks ago, a person I know was beaten in a club for dressing in drag. So, and he's not going to stop. It's not one of those things that you pick him up and throw him in jail and then what? Is that the end? So.
And again, how do you, so now that you've, I guess, finished it and had the chance to see it, although possibly through the lens of jet lag, so it might not have looked exactly like your film. How do you think you will screen it at home? Like, will you be having a casting crew? Because obviously that's going to be quite a challenging environment for you to figure out how to get it out into your community in a way that people can engage with it and be feeling comfortable and safe. And
in October we have a film festival that travels. We have many festivals within Nairobi, so I definitely want to push it through that. Yeah, festivals would be primarily one way of distributing them. There is a gay organization back home, those trying to figure out an avenue where we can also take it to screening.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's great. Thank you. And so, Lisa from Barbados, so your film was Auntie the Barrel Child. What was the hardest thing for you in terms of emotionally getting that film up onto the screen? How are you connected to that material?
These are stories that I kind of collected from people. The lead actress in the film, actually, her day job is as the head of cultural studies at the local university, and she'd been working on a migration project for like 13 years. talking to returning nationals who'd migrated in like the 40s and 50s, and a lot of them had these kind of stories of being, for those of you who don't know what a barrel child is, they're kids whose parents migrate, leave them behind with a caretaker, and the only sort of contact they have with their parents is with, you know, stuff sent in a barrel on a regular basis, or not that regular basis in some cases. And these people were in their like 70s and 80s and had come home to die, but were still sort of really traumatized by having been ripped away from somebody who was a parent. So I really wanted to tell that story.
Because it becomes like a double parenting situation. This is how that felt, you know.
Yeah, and then often when the biological parent is actually able to send for the child, they insist on severing the ties with the surrogate parent because they don't want the competition. So a lot of those kids, once they leave, never really see that person again.
Yeah. And what will be the opportunities at home for this film to screen? I'm assuming you'll be submitting it to international festivals and things, but in terms of finding a place for it at home?
We have like, you know, a drive-in and a cineplex. But it would be good to sort of do this more as a community screening kind of thing. I'd love to show it to those, those returning nationals, who are, you know, the stories kind of not been told.
Fantastic. And Jules, your placentas. Lay it out. Where are they now?
They're still frozen in my freezer, beside the loaf of bread. I haven't found a place yet. It's a hard decision to make, and I'm struggling, you know, whether or not it should be my decision or the twins' decision. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Tricky. So you need a panic move, and then you'll have to decide. So your film is the only documentary amongst this mix, and I'm interested in how that came to be the film that you chose. Was it a film that you were making anyway when this opportunity came up? Because it feels like a story to me that you would be wanting to tell yourself.
Originally, I went to Banff with the Banff Art Centre in Banff, Alberta, Canada, and I was kind of workshopping the idea. I was thinking about a feature length because I thought, you know, if there's me, there must be other parents in Canada or Indigenous women who are kind of experiencing the same thing. But I'm open. I'm always open to different forms and telling stories, right? So I was like, cool, this is an opportunity to tell it. And even though there's no real resolution at the end, well, there is somewhat because my mother kind of, you know, she shared her story. But I think it's an important story to tell because there's a lot of us out there who have been kind of fragmented in terms of cultural genocide. And, well, and us in Canada had the experience of the residential school system and the Indian Act. So that was, you know, forced on us from the government. So we have this experience of displacement in our own country. So I figured, I know that, you know, people don't want to talk about placentas. Every time I talk about it, they're like, you're the placenta girl. You know, so, you know, it's kind of a weird thing to talk about, but I think it's important because it's, you know, it goes back to our birthing stories. You know, and as women, I come from a matriarchal society, and women are revered, you know, in high regard. But these ceremonies, we've been severed from them. So I think we need to go back to those ceremonies and go back to matriarchy. No, just kidding.
I'm all for that. I think that similarly, you will find more people with placenta stories than you believe.
That's cool.
It's, yeah, I think it's great. And so, Oscar, so this is your first short film that you've directed.
Yes.
So what was the hardest bit?
Everything. Getting the money, Elizabeth? Calling in all our favours, exhausting, keeping our friends who kind of helped out. The whole process was tough. Hope we still got our friends. And yeah, it was actually kind of sitting at the back. I was as the film started, I kind of started getting a little bit scared and nervous. But it was good.
And how closely is this film tied to you and your world?
Pretty close. I mean, it's not a biopic. It's not a day that happened in my life. It's just got elements of my childhood. Spaceys, getting sent up the road, groceries, hanging out with the boys in the garage, getting stopped by the police. getting your bags searched, and the dedication at the end is to one of my big brothers, because he was a pretty important relationship, because I probably survived childhood because of him. He was a really positive influence, and so just wanted to make something about big bros and how important they are and kind of figures in our families, really.
Fantastic. I love your capturing of the period. I love the audience's response to the sound of the milkman and and the references to Happy Days. You know, I felt like we were all there in 1981. It was really satisfying.
It wasn't supposed to be that funny, guys. It's supposed to be a moving epic love song to childhood, and you guys just keep laughing. Good one.
Does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to offer up about any of the films? Cool. Oh, sorry. There's one right down the back. We've got a roving.
I can yell. I'm curious about what you're all going to do now that you've made these films. Have you got? Will there be a second project, or was this a personal experience?
Well, within the Commonwealth Foundation, Lucy and Mark are figuring out what the next steps will be, and probably will just say briefly, and then maybe each of you can speak to that. But all of these guys have got a really different range of experience, and in this case, it's Oscar's first film he's directed, but he's got a whole wealth of other things behind him. And for all of the filmmakers, Corinne's got a really interesting story, so maybe would you mind sharing about your background, your filmmaking background, and kind of what your next steps are going to be?
Oh yeah, so I've been wanting to do a film about human smuggling for a long time, a feature film. I've made a feature film before, a film called Children of God, if you haven't heard. And it's a really small film. And I wanted, the character in my feature is the character in this film who is the lady who walks up at the beach. And so in that feature we continue her story and spend some time with her in Haiti. And so I'm just trying to use this, along with the Commonwealth Foundation, as a precursor to jump into my feature and using that to build awareness around the project and to have a buzz about it.
I always have tons of projects going, and I have a TV series that'll be airing on Aboriginal People's Television Network in Canada in 2014, and it's called ASCII Boys. So what I basically am doing is revenge on my two oldest boys, who are urban Indians, and I drop them off in 13 different Native communities and say, you have to learn how to live off the land, and I stand back and watch. It's actually really funny. So that's airing, and we're hoping to get approved for second season so that we can come back to New Zealand possibly and drop them off here, maybe get them their first tattoo. Anyway, so that's what's going on with that, and then I work with criminalized women. I pay my bills through working in social work, so I have another documentary idea I want to do about Indigenous women who have been criminalized. We represent about 2% of the population in Canada, and we are 34% in the prison population. So I think there's something going on, and I believe you have a kind of shared story here in Australia and other Indigenous communities. So that's what I'm working on now, and yeah.
I'm working on, back home I write for television and direct a couple of shows there. So that's ongoing, and what I have on the plate once I get back home is a feature that I'm developing with a few friends. We're actually adapting a book into feature. It's called The Brethren of Bond. It's a short story about details. It's about a rural village and basically Christianity, the hypocrisy within the church, within the community, and how obviously that affects people that live in it.
I kind of feel like the baby in this group a little bit. This is the first thing I've ever written or directed. I'm I identify as a producer. So I produced one feature before this that did okay, and I'm attached to like 4 projects as a producer. So in terms of writing and directing, again, I'd have to sort of make space to do that. But I'd love to do a feature-length version of this film, probably as a producer, really. But who knows?
Directing, was that good?
It was awesome.
It's true, I know a couple of other producers who directed and really loved it, actually. Yeah. Challenging, though. Any more questions? Cool. I don't need any of you, because I've got lots. I think that the other thing, if you guys don't mind, and we've got a bit more time, don't we? 5 more minutes? Okay, well, really quickly. It would be really, would you be able to talk a little bit about kind of the infrastructure, where you come from? One of the things that's come up, the Commonwealth Foundation has been running a lab for the last 2 days, and there's another day of the lab tomorrow to look at how filmmaking is resourced within the Pacific. I think there's quite a clear picture of how it's resourced within New Zealand, but in the wider picture of the Pacific Islands, it's very difficult for people to access any funds to be creating, and it's a small community, so it's difficult to be finding collaborators as well. But certainly, I know that some of you guys come from places that have, you know, a similar, they don't have that government structure of support. Would you mind talking about that a little bit?
Oh, it was kind of funny this week being in the workshop, and somebody mentioned like a shorts program here that goes up to $90,000, and I was like, can I get citizenship? Because you know, there's no government funding at all. There was something like that lasted for about 2 years and then disappeared. There's no private support. Even looking at the production value of the other films, like equipment, we literally had to call up people and go, have you got this? Have you got that? And borrow it and barter and make deals. I was directing, but it was also like combing hair and ironing clothes and pouring tea and stuff, because, you know, there's not a level of professionalism when it comes to non-commercial work. So there's no sense of working for credit, because you can't spend that credit on another production, right? So people only work for cash. So, you know, in that way, it was very challenging. And without a scheme like the Commonwealth scheme, there's no way that I could have developed a project, taking the luxury of like spending 9 months working on a short film. It just wouldn't be possible. And that situation doesn't seem like it's going to change anytime soon. Right.
Lucy, you keep on that? Yeah. No, I mean, you just keep on the funding. You just keep on it. Bonjira?
It's the same. No government funding. Private sector is very what is film making about. Yeah, I mean, it's only through channels like this that you actually get to make a story that hopefully, you know, has a point.
I'm getting sick. Okay. All right. I think we're pretty similar. Like we have the Canadian Media Fund, we got Telefilm, we have the Toronto Arts Council, Ontario Arts Council, we have provincial councils, and what else? Yeah. The only thing I find is that with Telefilm and CMF, don't say anything, nobody's here, but you have to have like kind of points to get projects greenlit, so you have to have a certain amount of producers' credits and directors' credits. So people who are just kind of emerging, it's really difficult to kind of, you know, get through that glass ceiling. But it's pretty similar, I think.
Yeah, it's similar to Barbados and Kenya. You know, I mean, it's hard, but you know it's going to be hard, and so you have to reach out to the people around you, and you have to like, I've raised money for films, and it's just like you feel like I have to come from the perspective that what I'm doing is terribly important to you, to preserve like who we are in this moment in time, and that seems to be working for me in terms of getting access to funding. But you know, you never know how long that's going to last before, you know, it crashes in. So, you know, there's the burden of raising the funds yourself as the filmmaker, but it can also be liberating, and because you're also in charge. And so, yeah, that's how it is for me. Yeah.
Well, I live here, and we're really lucky to have the Film Commission and also Creative New Zealand and New Zealand On Air, all these public institutions that fund broadcasting. And for Tom's Dairy, we went through those processes, but it's so competitive because there's so much creativity and filmmakers here all going for the very small pool. So I was grateful to the Commonwealth Foundation for opening this avenue up, and I guess that would be my thing that I could offer anyone here who wants to make something is, even if the channels at home, don't quite buy your idea, or if you don't quite make it, or if you make it to the short list but don't quite make it into production. If you really want to tell the story, you should just tell it and just find other ways to do it. And there are people at the Commonwealth Foundation. And it's been cool too, meeting all these guys all week in Wanjiru. Sorry about your epic journey. All because of bloody Australia wouldn't give her a visa transit for 1 hour. Can you believe it? So they descended through China. What's up with that? But also just sharing all these guys and just seeing all those films up there and just seeing the like-minded spirits and souls and the stories that are being, told, and also hanging out in the workshop for the last 2 days and meeting all the young filmmakers and hearing their dreams and desires. So, if you really want to tell your story, just do it, and just hope you still got your friends at the end.
Exactly, because if it works, you want to do it again. I think that's probably a really good place to leave these guys. I think you guys have done an amazing job bringing us these films.
I'd just like to say,
Oh.
I think we're all really grateful to be here in New Zealand and to be with all of you and the Commonwealth Foundation and B3 Media and Doc New Zealand. And we're really grateful for this guys.
Thank you, Lisa, very much. And a final hand for the filmmakers for all the hard work. Thanks again to our local partner. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I'm sorry, just missed a chance to say, I don't know if anyone's communicated this to you, but I'm sorry to arrive late, but I really like the fact that you made these films. Really want to see more of your stories. The ones you think you're not sure about making, that you're not sure people want to look at, I want to look at those. So if you do decide to continue doing this, it's, you have a ready audience. I hope you can find that audience.
Thank you. And now it's time to go and celebrate all the work. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.